How to find a good real estate lawyer. You know, lawyers can get you into trouble and then get you out of trouble. So you got to make sure you have the right one with the right temperament and the right attitude. Otherwise, it could really cause you a lot of trouble. So if you're looking for the right real estate lawyer, we're going to talk about how to do that right now. Three essentials when looking for real estate lawyers. We're going to talk about 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to tell you what lawyers not to hire, which is just as important as knowing which ones to hire. So stay with me till the end and we're going to go into it right now. All right, so before you start with a real estate lawyer, the first thing you got to know is, what do you need the lawyer for? Is this a lawyer to do an escrow or to do a property for you? Or is this more of a lawyer that's going to help you to do an estate? Or is this a lawyer who's going to help you solve a real estate problem? What's the purpose? Once you know the purpose of the lawyer, which means what problem are you trying to solve, then you start looking for the type of lawyer you need. The first type of lawyer, estate lawyers, typically are lawyers that work mostly out of their office. They're not in court a lot, and their experience is based around setting up trusts or doing asset protection. The second type of lawyer is a real estate lawyer that is a transactional lawyer. Those are lawyers in states where they don't use escrows and title companies that typically are needed in order to do a transaction in real estate. And the third type of lawyer is a litigation lawyer. This is a lawyer that litigates problems or helps with real estate issues that may happen, whether it's contractual or whether it's a tenant-landlord issue or whether it's a defect in the property issue. Different lawyers do different things. The first question you got to ask before you look for the lawyer is, what problem do I have, or what do I need a lawyer for? The thing we're going to do when we're looking for a lawyer is we're going to go straight online and we're going to look at their resume or the history of the lawyer or what they do. If you want to find a good lawyer, you want to see a lawyer that has a resume that works in the area of that you need a lawyer for. If you're looking for an estate lawyer, then you don't want a lawyer that litigates, or a transactional lawyer. You're looking for an estate lawyer. Those lawyers will typically have reviews of people where they've set up estates or they set up trusts, and will have a whole description of their services based around asset protection, trust, family trust, estates, and wills. Those attorneys, the best way to find those are, number one is reviews like anything else, but two, look for the description. Now, law firms often have different attorneys that do different things. So when you call the law firm, make sure you ask for the attorney that specializes in estates and wills, trusts, etc. My recommendation is you ask several different attorneys the same questions in terms of how much are your fees, how much do you need in terms of time, how much documentation do you need, what is exactly the process, how long does it take, how many have you done, how long have you been in practice, and all that. My golden rule is I like gray-haired attorneys, okay? I like attorneys that are old, that have been in practice a long time, because with age comes often wisdom. The practice of law is just that. It's the practice of law. The law constantly changes. Different judgments or decisions from the Supreme Court down that can affect how estates are managed and put together. And nothing's more important than protecting your assets in your estate. So for assets attorneys, estate attorneys, those are my recommendations. With transactional attorneys, I would ask realtors or title companies or others in and around the industry who they like for transactional attorneys. Typically, if you have a realtor that does a lot of different transactions in a state that requires an attorney, they will typically guide you to some of the brightest and the best. So in that particular case, I would look for that referral. Of course, you always want a good referral, but sometimes referrals aren't that good. So you want to do a buffet or different ways of looking at and evaluating an attorney, from references to reviews to recommendations to the study of who they are and where they come from to how long they've been in practice. Okay, all of those things are important. One of the challenges and fears of a lot of people have from attorneys before we get into litigation attorneys is that they're afraid of runaway costs. So it's a good idea to get an estimate of cost prior to hiring an attorney. They're usually going to give you a range. For something like an estate, they may give you a fixed amount, but for most of the time, they're going to give you a range. It's going to be from here to here, and they'll ask for a retainer. When you find the right attorney, go ahead and pay the retainer and get them the information they need to get started. The quicker you give them the information, the better you're going to be. Now, for litigation attorneys, depends on what you're litigating, okay? If you're suing a real estate agent, or if you're suing a buyer, or if you're suing a seller, or if you're suing someone who you have a problem with some other real estate situation, you want attorneys that are specialized in those things. I once had a situation where I had a property where there was a litigation, and I hired an attorney who basically handled small litigation, and most of it was spent in arbitration and mediation, and it all got resolved. So the key to your problem in finding a lawyer is, what is the situation? If you got a major problem, you may have a different lawyer than if you have a minor problem. So it depends on the lawyer. A small local attorney may be your best bet for a transactional or a dispute over a simple real estate deal, versus something where you've got mass litigation. Then you're going to look for somebody who handles bigger type of lawsuits. So after you subscribe, I'm going to tell you the most important thing you need to know about lawyers. I've hired lots of lawyers throughout my life for different things, and the most important thing about a lawyer is their disposition. Lawyers need to maintain calm and be intelligent and keep emotion out of things. If you get a lawyer that's emotional and angry and all that, they can elevate a situation which you end up having to pay for. One of the attorneys I met, my absolute favorite, who helped me on some situations, he's so calm and so level-headed. He's healthy. His office is very neat, and he's organized, and he's fast, and he gets stuff done. And he's firm, but he's intelligent about it. He's easygoing to me, but when he's on the phone, he's very authoritative, right? On the phone. He gets stuff done. He files documents timely, okay? Versus another attorney that I went to meet, I was gonna hire before I met this guy. I went into his office and everything was fine. And on the way out, I peeked in the door and I noticed this other office, and there was just stuff everywhere. Files, complete disorder, stuff on the floor. Everything was a mess, okay? If you go in a law office and you see that, run, okay? Because that's your file sitting in that mess, and it's not getting done. So when you hire an attorney, the most important thing is disposition when you meet them and talk to them. 2, of course, their experience. But 3, are they neat and organized? Do they get stuff done? My experience has been the least expensive attorney is the most expensive. And the most expensive attorney is the least expensive. What do I mean by that? The most expensive attorney, and I had a friend who recently had a child custody case, and he said, this person is the most expensive. This guy's the most expensive. And I said, and that's exactly who you should hire, because he'll cost you the least. And he said to me, what are you talking about? And I said, because he's well experienced, he works as a judge sometimes, and he does this stuff for 30 years, he's going to get you a settlement, which is exactly what happened. They never went to trial. He got it settled. Versus an inexpensive attorney who tries to do things on the cheap, cuts corners, or doesn't do the job very well, doesn't have a lot of experience, okay? I usually like more expensive attorneys who are experienced, get the job done, and again, I like gray hair, okay? Male or female. Now, the females, sometimes they dye their hair. The bottom line is, I want experience. That's what I mean by that, okay? 10, 15, 20 years in the business. Those are the people I want to hire. I don't want the new person who's trying to learn. Regardless of what you may see in the movies with this new attorney who fights Goliath, that's not the attorney you want. You want an attorney in real estate who has a lot of experience. Well, we're going to talk about how to find properties that are in foreclosure and how to get in on those properties before they sell. So I'll see you then.